everybody, to today's GPS Tracking Academy. My name is Sam Sims. Next to me is Rich. We are here to teach you how to use our system. So before we get things started, I want to tell you a little bit about what you're looking at right now. So we are in a streaming window. You're more than welcome to make this streaming video go full screen, but a lot of folks like to keep it a little bit smaller and open up two tabs and use one tab for our system, and then walk through it with us as we're going through it, and keep us on the other tab. So it's up to you however you'd like to use it. This is a DVR system. Our live streaming provider is allowing you to go back and forth into this, but you can only go as into the future as live, just like our system. So can't go any farther than that. We haven't perfected that. We're working on it.
One day.
Yeah, exactly.
And if that happens, you let us know too, in case we don't know.
Halfway through our training session, we know it gets a little long sometimes, so we like to do a coffee break right in the middle. That helps us get things organized in the back. So that'll happen sometimes around the 30-minute mark. And then if you want to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, feel free to do so. It's obviously twitter.com or facebook.com/US Fleet Tracking. Smash all those words together and you'll get to our social properties. We'd love to have the conversation with you there too, so if you hit us with a message there, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. If you'd like to have some tech support right at your fingertips, please feel free to give us a call Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's Central Time. And the telephone number is 405-726-9900, and you're probably seeing that right now on your screen.
Also open Saturday.
Yes, open on Saturdays as well from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thanks for reminding me on that. On just to our left and probably your right is a chat box. We have somebody who is manning that right now. You're able to chat in any question you'd like to, which will come directly to us. We will answer that on the air while we're in this training session. So let's go ahead and get things started, and I'll turn it over to Rich.
Awesome. Well, good morning again. First thing I always like to bring up is a new feature we just added just about a week or two ago, where now you can actually order online.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier. Easier is better, so I'm a big fan of that. So if you go to our website, usfleettracking.com, and if you come here, you're going to see where you can go to products, and now you can see the nice little button, add to cart. So if you're ready to buy, let's say one of the big things is an accessory, you really don't have the time or you don't want to call in, you can just go straight to our website, come here and click add to cart. Pulls up what you want right here. Let's go with 100 of these. You just want to go to update. And then, yeah, you can either go to checkout and you can use PayPal, credit card, any method of payment that you like to use. So, and then when you're done with there, you just pay for it and you're good to go. And it'll be shipped to you. So it's, again, I always like to bring up that feature because it's fairly new and so much easier for our customers. So now to get started right here, and as you can see down here too, if you ever have any questions, we also have a nice little chat box up here. If you have questions about pricing, quotes, anything in that manner, it's another function that you can always use.
And that's manned basically the same time that we also man our tech support, is that right?
Yep, that's right. Yep.
So that's Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central. And then Saturdays, 4 to 9. I'm sorry, 9 to 4. There we go.
So now to get started, the first thing I always like to bring up is the mobile website.
Okay.
So if you pull up on your phone or your tablet, just go to www.usfleettracking.com, and then you want to go on the top right-hand corner where it says Tracking Login. It will take you to your screen right here where you type it in. So for example, we're going to log into our demo account. Now one function I always like to bring up is the Remember Me button. Really nice for your tablets or your phones because you might pull it up real quick and want to pull it right back up again. You don't have to constantly log in and log out. You can just pull up your phone again and it auto logs you in. So we're going to hit that Remember Me and then hit Sign In. Now this is what it would look like on your typical phone, where right when you log in, it's going to bring up your devices. Now it's really nice because a lot of times on your mobile device, you just want to, on the move, you want to see where your vehicle's at. So right when you log in, you can just zoom in. Now on your mobile device, you want to use your 2 fingers. And
the pinch zoom feature?
Yep, okay. Exactly. And then come here and you're going to see where your vehicles are at. Now let's say if you want to know where this vehicle is at right here. Now it looks like we didn't have our flags up, but if you come here and you go to Settings, so we have our labels right there. So we want to make sure that's on. Come back, now we know what vehicles they are. So normally that function is going to be automatically on if you go in there and turn it off. So if we want to see right here, we go to devices, we want to get some more information. Now we can get a list of all of our devices. So if we see right here 10 con, we see how it's highlighted green. Now the green is going to be moving. If they're yellow, they're going to be idling, so their ignition's on, but they're sitting still. So let's get some more information on 10 con. Now if we come over here and click this little I, it's going to bring up more information on it. So we can get the serial number, it loads the address, so if we want to know the actual address that they're at, the latitude, longitude, the velocity, how fast they're going, ignition, GPS satellites. Now satellites is very important. Very similar to like a cell phone, the bars on a cell phone, how well your signal is, how strong it is.
So the more satellites connected, the better
That's
signal
right.
we've got.
Yep. You want 4 more. 4 more satellites is what you want to aim for. If it's less than that, then you might want to like just double check that device and maybe check its placement is where that will come into play.
Okay.
Now, once you check all the information, one thing I always like to recommend is the follow on map. That's really important because on your mobile phone, if that vehicle is moving, then what it will do is if it's driving on the screen, it will then maybe go off your screen. And you know, you don't want to have to sit there and constantly move and constantly have to do this to follow it. It auto centers is what it do. As you saw right there, it auto centered it. So it's really nice when it's on the move.
Okay.
If you want to turn that function off, go back to devices, uncheck, and now you have the function of doing whatever you want on the map.
Great.
Now, the next thing is the settings. This is important because right now it's defaulted to the road, but if we want to switch to satellite, because you want to see all those nice little pretty images and you want to see, you know, businesses is where it really comes into play. You can zoom in and now we can see what maybe that could be.
So if you have a cell signal that's pretty strong in your area, you could turn on that satellite feature and see those images. But if your cell signal might be a little low, stay on the road. There's just the road portion of it, right? So
That's correct.
It loads a little faster on here.
Exactly, because you don't want to have this up and then all of a sudden it's having a hard time loading or you just get a black screen. Then that's when you want to go into that settings or keep it on that map view until you can pick up a better signal.
Let's go ahead and move on to the actual system itself then.
Yeah, so
By the way, feel free to chat any question you've got about the mobile. We'll gladly answer that. We're going to move on to the actual system on the desktop version of it now.
correct, and all these functions are used in the desktop version as well. So what you'd want to do is when you go to the desktop version, when you go to our website, usfleettracking.com, you want to come over here, hit the track and login. Just like the mobile version, we're going to log into our demo account. And then just like that, you have the Remember Me button. So if you just want to auto log in, so we're going to hit login. And then this right here is the first thing you're going to see. Right when it pulls up, now I think this has pulled up in satellite view, but one of the first things I always like to bring up is right when you log in, if you want to see maybe what a street looks like, and if you zoom in, this little orange guy right here in the bottom right-hand corner. If you click and drag that, it's going to bring up a little over here, and you can highlight it over the blue roads on the map. It brings you in a nice little eye. This is one of my favorite functions.
Before you go much further, that little orange guy, he's just like on Google Maps. You may not have seen him. He might have been a little bit lower in the right-hand corner of your system. But if you go there, he's there. Lower right-hand corner, little bitty orange, yellowish looking guy. Drop him just like you would on Google Maps. It's a Google Maps feature, and it shows you the street view of it. It looks like we're looking at some palm trees. Kind of go there.
So as we saw, this is where one of the devices updated. So if you wanted to get some ideas of like the house or the building, really good for businesses to be able to see maybe where they're at is what that can be really nice on. So when you're done with this function, you just come back up here to this arrow and hit the back button. It brings you right back to that map.
Okay. So it's the exact opposite corner. the upper left, hit that. There's a small back arrow, hit it, and it takes you back to the satellite view of it.
Yep, exactly. So the first function I always like to bring up too is if we come over here to this little gear, this is where you can now change your password. Instead of having to call in or send an email, you can come here and just type in your current password, new ones, and get that changed.
Which is great when you have some employee changes
Yep.
or you need to pass the account off to another employee or something.
Exactly, and or just like on Sundays. You know, maybe if you're getting on there late at night and you need to get that changed right away, you can just log into your system and change that. So it's really good time saver, you might say.
Okay.
So now here's your live chat, which is really nice because through those hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, and 9 to 4 on Saturday. If you ever have any questions you don't really want to call in, you can come here, chat in with us, and within moments, you'll have a representative start talking to you and get any questions answered. Okay. Now the next function is going to be map control. Now this is where you'll be able to like change your map views, change clutter on the map and so forth. So if you come here, if you don't want to use your mouse, you can use these little functions right here and it just moves the map around. Really good for laptops if you don't have a mouse, an actual mouse that can be used for. Plus and minus is going to be like your zoom in, zoom out. Now this northwest, southeast, that's good because once you zoom in to a certain level, it's what's called bird's eye view. See how it changes? Mm-hmm. You can actually change the angle. So now you can see the back end and so forth. So that's what that's for, because if you're zoomed out, it doesn't do anything. So you have to be at that level, and it tells you right here.
Okay.
Now, next function is satellite view. If you click on this, it takes you back to that map view. Again, really good if maybe you have a little older computer or you have a lot of people on systems and it's having a hard time pulling up the images. Just go to uncheck satellite view and it pulls up that map view, which could be a little easier to see and read.
Sure.
You know, but I personally like those images, so I'm gonna have it on.
Yeah, I do too.
So for clutter reasons, if you come over here and if you have a lot of your images, the icons cluttering the map, you can come over here and hit small icons. Really good to cut down on that clutter.
Yeah, which is really helpful when you got a lot of moving vehicles in the same area.
Mm-hmm. Now, routes. This is really nice if you want to see all your routes on your screen, which will go a little bit more detail later on. But it goes if you want to see all your routes on your map.
That looks like 66.
Yeah, all the way across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a nice little trip. Now, the next one is fences, very similar to routes. It will allow you to be able to see all the fences on your map. And see where they're at, make sure maybe certain locations have a fence is what that's really nice for.
Which we'll talk about later, how to set those fences.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now flags, same thing with clutter. If maybe the flag is blocking something, you can come here and check them on and check them off. Alerts, same thing like fences where it's going to be able to bring it up and show you where all your alerts are at. Now the one function, my two favorite functions in the map control is going to be traffic. So now this function is really nice. Because if we want to know where congestion is, if we want to be able to save time and maybe a dispatcher inform a driver on where to go, now you can tell them where to avoid.
Stay off the 610 southbound right now.
Exactly, because it's going to take a lot longer. So you might be able to inform them, hey, you know, let's go up, looks like Chimney Rock Road here because it's going to save a lot of time. Sure. That's why it's going to be really nice. But as you can see, that is updated like our system every 10 or 5 seconds. I believe it's every 10 seconds, in fact, when it comes to traffic. But it's constantly updating for you. Okay. Now, the next function, this is one of my personal favorite, is weather. Okay. We now have, we have weather overlay. So now Houston, of course, the weather looks really nice there.
Let's zoom out and find some weather.
Yep, as we can see, there we go. So we come over here to the good old New York, New Jersey area. You can see right now where that weather is. Want to stay away from that area. But it's really nice for your lawn care businesses or construction where now you can see where your vehicles are at and where that weather is heading towards. Right. So if we come over here and hit radar loop, now we can see where it's going. So it can really save time if, hey guys, you need to start picking up that equipment and start getting out there. It could be there within the next 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Or skip this area, don't put concrete down.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's just going to get messed up. Okay.
So those are two functions I really like. And over here it tells you your time and your rain snow mix. Now again, this is updated, from my understanding, about every 10 seconds, just like our system, when we pull the data from the weather system. Okay. Now another function I always like to bring up since you're here, the nice little question mark. Mm-hmm. So this right here will bring up a how-to video. So if we're going over, maybe if I'm going a little too fast, or for training purposes, you want to go and start showing an employee on how to use our system. Everywhere you go through our system, you're going to see those little question marks. Again, they bring up a how-to video that's going to explain what that function is and how to use it as if somebody is right there walking you through it. Again, hour from now, you want to go over that. Bring up these little videos and you can go over them. Or again, give us a call, open up that live chat. We always love to hear from our customers, especially when it comes to helping them.
Yes, exactly. And you can always replay these training sessions that we're in right now on our YouTube channel. So that's youtube.com/US Fleet Tracking.
I love seeing a lot of viewers. Love seeing that.
Yeah. Right.
Makes me more popular, you know.
Yeah.
Go there and
Internet
show
fame.
friends, hey,
Woo,
woo!
internet fame. All right, let's move on to device management.
So device management is really good on knowing where the vehicles are at, or just like it's saying, managing your vehicles. So the first function is, we have a lot of vehicles right here, but I want to find a specific one, or maybe a group. Click that drop down. I want to know where Tenncon is at. So if I select that, it now singles it out on the map, and it automatically brings up device data. Now you can click on the icon itself to bring up that data, or when you select it right here, it brings it up. Now, again, just like the mobile, it's going to bring up your serial, the name, the address, which is really nice. A lot of customers, right when they log in, they click that function just to see where it's at and then move on. Speed, really important when they're driving. Again, that satellite count, how well and how good that information is. Ignition on or off. And then last move, last updated. Now, the reason a lot of customers might ask, why do you have last move and last updated? That's important because last move is going to tell you, let's say they've been parked for an hour. So that time should be an hour back, of course. And then that last update is to make sure that it's updating with the network. If that last update says a couple days ago, you might want to have somebody go and take a look at that device.
Right.
So you also get another nice little image of that Google Streets. As long as their area allows that image, some areas, maybe if they're in the boonies, might not be able to pull that image out. Now, if you see these buttons down here, now for hardwired devices, you can actually go and install extra functions with a couple of the other wires. The amazing part about that is no extra cost in your service. You just have to pay a little bit for that installation, but no extra cost.
So when they are installed, they are not grayed out like they are.
That is right.
And then you can do things like unlock the door, honk
Yep.
the horn, all the fun stuff that goes along with it. So tell us about the option button.
So the options this is where you're going to be able to go in there and change the vehicle name. So if you have a new employee start driving the vehicle, you go in there and change that.
And you can make that whatever you want, right?
That's right.
Like on this demo account, it's just Tenncon.
Yep.
Okay.
We can go in there and change it to Bob if we
Okay.
want. Bob, whatever you want to use. We can also change the flag colors. Really nice if you have a lot of vehicles maybe in the north, south, east, and west. Now you can color code them. So if red is all the way in the west, you're like, why is this over there?
And that flag is what we're currently seeing as the blue flag that's on there right now, if we want to pull that aside.
That's
show
correct.
That off. Okay, so that's the flag portion of it. Gotcha.
So that color right there we can change. Or we can even change the vehicle icons. We have a vast variety where you can come in here and change them. There's all your different commercial vehicles. Anything right here, you have tons to choose from on what you want to change it. And the final function I always like to bring up is dispatch. Awesome function. If you ever want to be able to send a command, maybe a location to your driver, you can come here, select your contact, and now it actually sends from Google Maps, it will tell them where they need to go on their phone.
Okay.
So where you can pull it up, I want them to go here, fine, and then send it.
Okay.
Is what that will do.
All right. You can add a comment too if you need to. Like,
Yes.
Go here next.
Get there ASAP.
Yeah.
So the next function is if we just want to see if you have all your vehicles, I just want to see all my vehicles that are driving or moving or idling. It's what you'd want to select there. Now the next function is devices. Main function I want to show here is it brings up all your vehicles, but the biggest function I believe and I love is that last update. You can now see all your vehicles and the last time they updated. As we can see right here, Limo 13 hasn't updated since October 27, 2015. Why has that one not been updating? So now in a quick method, you can find out we need to maybe get that one in and serviced or find out what's going on with that one.
Sure.
And you can organize them by just selecting the name or by a search if you just want to do a search for an individual
And if you
one.
click on any one of those right now, you'll get that same device box, edit
The
device
options.
we had before. Great.
Yep. So I love that function, especially working in tech for so long, Next one is device groups. This is where if you want to make groups, again, like I was talking about before, the northeast, southwest, you can go in there and create specific groups on maybe what you want to see on the map. You just come here, select the devices you want, add them, and then name that group.
Which is another way if you had we have color coding on our flags. We have some yellows, we have some reds, we have some greens. We could put those into a group and say, I only want to see the greens. I only want to see
Exactly.
the yellows.
By going to that devices and then selecting that groups.
Gotcha.
So you have color and you also have where you only want to see specific ones on the map.
Okay.
So the next one's going to be the driver editor. So driver editor is if you want to put some specific notes on that specific driver. Maybe I don't know, favorite food he likes. I mean, anything you like. Maybe the last time they did maintenance. The other thing is their phone number, email. This is where you'd put that down for what devices you want.
And this is what ties in back with that. If you were dispatching them, this is where that information is going to be
That's correct.
found. Okay.
Let's actually close this weather overlay over there. So the next function is maintenance. Now, this function is something we're going to have to go into when we get into alerts, but this is where you'd be able to pull up those maintenance alerts, which is really nice on, for oil changes or maintenance on your, because our devices aren't just used for vehicles. A lot of customers will use them for equipment, and so we can keep track of hours, and so they know, hey, after 30,000 hours, we need to have this looked at. So
Like
we'll
a
go
generator
into,
or something.
Yep. So this is where we'll go into that in the alerts on how to create that function, but this is where you'd be able to also be able to pull up those maintenance alerts. The next function is going to be device switches. So device switches is really good. Now, on the hardwire devices, when you hook up what's called a PTO sensor, really good, for example.
Wait, Rich, tell me what a PTO stands for.
Power takeoff.
Okay.
So let's say if you have a tow company and you want to know when that boom is activated. Your hardwire devices, you can have that function installed, and again, there's no extra cost on the service. Now, there might be the extra cost on the installation, but again, none on that service.
Okay.
But you want to know when that boom is activated. Our system will actually be able to now inform your dispatchers and also by reports, which we'll go into later, knowing when that boom was activated. So the device switches is where you can change the color of that PTO. Right now they're defaulted as a blue and red blinking icon that flashes on your screen. But let's say you have a different PTO for different circumstances. You want to change that color is where that function comes into play.
So you might have a something that designates this could be, you need to be paying attention to this as the blue and the red, and then something that's like, you can watch it, but you don't have to pay a whole lot of attention. It might be just yellow.
Exactly. You can set importancies. If one that's red and bright and you're like, we need to get on this right away, that's where you can change that color.
Okay.
So now after device management, we have report system. Now if we want to, I think normally, so if we come here, we go to report system. Now this is the bread and butter of our system. This is where almost every customer, when they love the reports because your documents are right here on your tracking. So once you go to report systems, you're going to see a lot of different type of reports here, and everyone can vary on what might be best for your company. Now, if you see them grayed out, that just means that there's no information on your vehicles that portrayed to this report, is what that is.
Gotcha.
So only the ones that are highlighted in white.
So in this specific demo account, we have it set up a speed alert, so there would be no way to pull that report since there is no speed alert.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And we don't want that function to be available because then if you're clicking on it and running it and you're like, why is nothing here?
It's empty.
Yeah, it's empty.
Gotcha.
So now the other thing you're going to see here is before we go and select on them, you're going to see scheduled reporting, which will go in there, but this is where you'll be able to see them, and then recently run reports. So if we come here, just kind of quickly going down them, you're going to see aggressive driving report. Now the aggressive driving report's going to be really good if you want to know if your driver's been going 0 to 60 in a really quick manner of time. So when you click on it, you're going to be able to select your devices, your start and end date, and the velocity change. Well, I want to know 60 miles per hour, what vehicles have been doing that. So you can click the view report, which will pull it up online, which I'll show you an example when we get to maybe like the start-stop report's a very popular one. Or you can hit right here, download. So you don't want to really pull it up on our system. You want to be able to look at it on an Excel spreadsheet, and you can download that and be able to view it there.
So with the velocity change, it could be they've gone from 70 miles an hour down to 10 miles an hour. So that's that 60. It's not the 60 miles per hour on the vehicle. It could be anywhere in between. So it's just a difference of 60 miles per hour.
That's right.
Okay, good deal.
So that's going to be your aggressive driving report. The next one is going to be the excessive idling. Now this is what I call your money saver. A lot of companies love this because let's say during the winter or now the summer's coming up, you have customers that's going to keep their vehicle running for a good old 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Well, you're paying for that fuel. So right now we can set it here. I want to know if they've been keeping it on for, 15 minutes. Because, I don't mind them getting a little cooled off, but, an hour of time, that's too much. They can go into
and in some states, it's against the law to be idling for a very long
Yeah.
time.
So now you can now get a report and find out who has been doing that, and now you can at least talk to them and find out what you want to do. And you can change now. Our history is stored for 90 days. So you can come back and go back up to 90 days ago and see who's been doing it. Whoops, sorry about that. So the next function, PTO sensor report, just like I was speaking about those, if you have a tow truck in or anything, you have that up. This is where you can go and find out what vehicles, when they've engaged those PTOs. Speed alert report on which ones have been, what alerts have been triggered. Now, speeding report. We come here and I want to know all my vehicles, anybody that's went over 70 miles per hour, because I know in the state of Oklahoma, I don't think there's any place that's more than 70 miles per hour.
There's one.
Okay. So
Our
let's change it.
turnpike. It's 75 miles an hour.
So we set up to 75, and let's just say for yesterday and today, we can go to view report and as well show you what it will look like. Hits processing. Now, depending on the size of vehicles or how many you have will vary on the time right there. But now, as you can see, it tells you our vehicles, how many infractions. So it looks like 5 Hazam, he likes to speed a little bit.
Yeah, he's done it a few times.
You have as an average of 77. Worst, he went up to 80. And then what we can do is hit view details. We want to get, I want to see all 106. But if you really want just a quick gist of it, their average and the worst.
Which in this case, he's in Houston, so my guess is he travels the interstate a lot.
Yeah.
So you don't get to go the speed limit sometimes. You have to follow the flow of traffic.
Exactly. So now we can come over here and we can print this. We can download it still if we want. Or the final thing, this is how we set up our scheduled reporting. Come over here and hit scheduled reporting. And you know what? I want to know weekly, every Friday, maybe for hours or for billing, I want to know, I want this report. So, and you can actually put in multiple people. So let's do myself here. And you just hit add. And then let's say you want your manager, or you want your supervisor. And let's go, at ussuch.com. So we want these two people right here to know, or to be able to get this report every Friday.
So in this case, it would be from Friday until Thursday. That report would
Correct.
run, and then it would run again Friday to Thursday.
Yep,
Okay.
every once. So now you don't have to always log into our system. One of the key functions is we want our system to be able to run in your company where you don't have to constantly go in there and run it.
Okay. So now that we've said it, we'll probably have to go in and turn that off. Otherwise
Yes,
we're going to get
which
those
I'm going to
emails.
go into those. Yep.
Okay.
You don't want those.
Yeah.
So, but you'll see down here now, it at least it tells us that it was successfully made. So that's why that's really nice, is we know it was done. If it wasn't, it would pop up red. It would just say, hey, doesn't work, go back, fix it.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we come back here and we go back to reports, now we have the start stop report. Now this is our most used report because this one right here will pull up everywhere your vehicles stopped and where they started. So really good if they want to know on making sure they get to the job site, when they're entering or leaving your workplace, your office. It's really good. I know some companies like to use it for hours, is where this comes into play. But you can go by ignition or by movement. That's really important because our battery operated devices, they don't have an ignition, so you always want to have movement there.
Okay.
So your minimum stop time, because it's important because I don't want to know every stop sign they went to. So I only want to know every 5 minutes because I know they shouldn't be at a stop sign for more than 5 minutes. Or we can even change it to every 10. Go down here and hit view report. Go run back. As you saw, that one came up a little quicker, but it tells you how many total stops, the total duration, your average, and your worst, how long they were stopped for. Now, a lot of these might be stopped because overnight.
Sure.
So you want to take that. But again, you might want to look at some of those view details.
Okay.
And again, you could go back to that scheduled reports. Geofence activity, really good when we go into our alerts and how to create those. This is where now we can see how much activity do they actually go into that alert. Right here, you can select all zones. I want to know when they got there.
Which is good because you can go and set a geofence in an area. So you might have a problem and say which one of our vehicles moved through that area in the last 90 days. Come back and run this report on a geofence you just created that day and run it for 90 days ago, and it'll tell you who went in and out of that area at that time. So really helpful when you're validating to your customer were you in that area or not.
And for that function, you definitely want to make sure you hit the dynamic.
Okay.
So you're going to see that dynamic there. That's where you can create the zone right now and see if it's ever been in that location.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, if you just want to be able to see like your zones and who has used those zones, make sure it's unchecked.
Okay.
But I believe it's defaulted as unchecked. So awesome function though. So the next one is trip detail. We want to know everywhere vehicles have been. PTO summary reports can be very similar to the PTO sensor report, but it's more of a summary. Vehicle mileage by state, really good for those IFTA reports. You want to know everywhere your vehicles, how many miles they put on. They could be putting down information on their paper, but our system now will be able to at least show you how many miles they actually went.
Checks and balance kind
Yep.
of option. Okay.
And then now your summaries is going to, like, my personal favorite is the standard report because it pulls up every update every 10 seconds. Now I like that because it allows you then to be able to go through and look through all that data. Really good if you ever need to take it to any courts or anything in that manner. That's the information they really like there because they want to see everything, now maybe not some specifics. And the final thing I always like to bring up on your scheduled reports, as we saw, so we don't get all those emails, hours of operation, this is where we come in here, tells you the duration scheduled and how we remove it.
It's very simple, just easy to remove.
Yep.
Great.
It tells you when they're there and then which ones are in.
Alrighty. Well, I think that brings us to the point where we're going to take a quick break. So if you'd like to grab a cup of coffee and come back and sit with us, we sure would like to see you on the other side of this. And feel free to chat any of those questions that you have. In the meantime, we're still watching the chat, and we will be back in just a few moments. So thank you so much. refresh your coffee. I unfortunately did not get to refresh my coffee. You can't see it, it always sits on the side down here, but that's okay. I'll get some in a minute. So let's get right back into it. We've got a little bit left to cover, so we're gonna go to alert notification.
So after reports, the next thing you're gonna see is alert notifications. Now this is where you're gonna be able to create alerts on, pretty much, it's gonna notify you when you're not on the system. It's one of the best things I love about the alert system.
So you don't always have to be logged in.
Correct, yes. So you don't always, one of the biggest things, like, I don't have time to be able to use a system all the time. Well, create some alerts, and all you gotta do now is just give some text messages and emails, and now you know what's going on.
At some point, we hope you're sleeping. I mean,
Yeah.
that you have to if you're human.
So the first alert that pops up when you go to create one is you're gonna see geofence. Now when you hit down, we have a couple of them to go over, but the geofence is probably one of the most popular ones next to speed. Now, what you're gonna see is this pink little box that pops up. Now this is where the zone, wherever it enters or exits the zone, it's gonna notify you. So first thing I always recommend is make sure you're in the proper zoom before you hit create. For example, if we close out of this, as you saw, it created one for over the whole city. Where if you zoom in to the actual location that you want, let's see, let's do for limo 13. So if you zoom in and then hit create, saves you a lot of time on having to making it smaller. So now you're gonna see these little white boxes in the four corners and in the middle. This is where you can get a little creative on your zone there.
All right.
So it's really important because when you're creating your zone around a location, let's say if it's a circle or, you got to go around some streets. That's where that's really important. Now, one big thing I always recommend, because you don't want that alert at 3 a.m. in the morning, bigger is better when it comes to the alerts. Because when you're zoomed in, if this updates in what's called satellite drift, just due to the satellite change, what we'll do is it might update right outside the zone. So you want to make sure they're at a good size because you don't want at 3 o'clock in the morning the vehicle's parked there and you only created your zone this big.
So say you created a zone that was a movement zone.
Correct.
And the satellite drift pushed it outside of there and
Just
it
for
sends
one
the alert.
update. Yep. And then all of a sudden you get an alert and you're like, my vehicle's left my house or my office or whatever the case is.
So before we go on, I want to talk very briefly about that satellite drift because there is some confusion that can be with that. So triangulation is how GPS works. So there's numerous satellites above us right now circling the Earth, and the triangulation of those satellites is what is creating that location. So we get very specific because the more satellites we have with our system, the more accurate it can be. But every once in a while, when it's passing off and shaking hands with another satellite, it will throw that alert maybe 100 feet out of the way and then bring it right back to where it should be. And that's what Rich is saying. Make sure that you build into your alert a little bit of buffer zone so that you're not getting erroneous alerts when you don't necessarily need to have them.
And no one likes to wake up super early in the morning and then they're calling us like, why did my alert go off?
Yeah. So I called the cops and they said it's right where it needed to be.
Yep. Exactly. So, because we're accurate within 8 inches. I mean, that's one thing to definitely, when you have good satellites, we're accurate within up to 8 inches. We've actually been getting a lot of questions on that, so, in tech and so forth. So, once you create your zone, though, now you want to name it. So this is where you can name it, office for all devices, specific, or groups. So if you only want maybe a specific set amount of devices to be able to get that, is where you'd go in there and select. Add recipient. This is where if we want who's going to be notified. So we come here and we just check mark, I want it to be emailed and SMS text to. You can have multiple people. So that's really nice because maybe only one person only wants to get the email. The other one, he wants to get both. Now, let's say you're going on vacation. You only have to pull this up and just uncheck SMS. He still wants the emails, but he doesn't want to be getting blown on his phone when he's on vacation.
Sure.
So he's coming here, uncheck that and hit save. So once we select it, we come down here. Now it's defaulted to 24/7 because we normally assume that customers want to be notified at all times. But you can come here and you can change that to 8 or, change that to 6 a.m. to maybe 5 o'clock. Sorry, my mouse is just not quite cooperating with me right now. So we come here, it's at 5 p.m. And we want to be notified on enter and on exit. Or let's say I only want to be notified when they exit. So
it could be a quick way to check, hey, did your guys leave the lot when they were supposed to leave the lot and return when they're supposed to return?
exactly, really good for a lot of customers who use that for hours. You know, they want to know when their employees got to work or when they left work. So
Or if you have a regular delivery schedule and you need to know, did those deliveries happen at that time?
Yes, that's a great way. That's probably the most used actually. Is people use that for their customers to make sure they're getting the best customer service. Is they set those alerts up at the customers' areas and be notified. Oh, I know Bob got there and he got there in a good time.
Okay.
So now, once you know geofence, the other ones we have is ignition alert. Ignition's good for just like all the other functions, but down here, I want to know when my ignition is on or off. I want to know when that's turned on. Next one's gonna be idling. If that vehicle has been idling for more than maybe not 155 minutes, 15 minutes.
Okay.
So you hit save, and then now, if it's been past 15 minutes, it's gonna notify us. Maintenance. So like we brought up prior, your maintenance report is gonna come down here. If you wanna be notified on oil changes, brakes, anything, our system now can help you and remind you on that, because you know, if you're so busy, sometimes it's hard to remember, hey, I want to go and, you know, we need to go check our oil, because, you know, all you got to do is save, if our system saves one of your trucks or one equipment 1 year, it pretty much pays for itself right there.
Right.
And our system can help. Now you can be notified once or every time. So again, you can set up for once, maybe for warranty reasons. You can come up here and set up, you know, it's set up for 40,000 miles. That's when it warns you, and then at 45,000 miles, it will actually alert you.
Okay. Which is really good when you've got maybe a fleet manager.
Yep.
Or you've just got 15 trucks out on the road. You don't have time to go look at the odometer of every single one of them.
Yep, you put it right here, and then when the system moves, it actually keeps track of that mileage, like the mileage state report, but it keeps track of that miles, and then that's how so you don't have to constantly go in there and readjust that. Now, as I was saying before, is our devices are not only used for vehicles, they can be used for equipment. This is where you really wouldn't probably use miles for equipment. Come in here and you use the hours. So after every 5,000 hours, it notifies me that maybe we need to go check out on that maintenance. Once you have that set, you just come over here and hit save. And now it pops up right here. And our alert modified, it tells us that it was created correctly.
Okay.
Now this is a demo account, so which is why it's not popping up right here. But if we come back here, that was that maintenance. So now we go down to panic. Now, panic is also the PTO is what that would be for. So it's going to notify us on when that PTO is engaged. So maybe when that boom is triggered. We come here. Now we also have power, really good for battery operated devices. So you're going to come here, add your recipients. But I want to be notified on battery operated devices. We recommend when it gets to 20% or less is the best time to try to go ahead and get a hold of it to try to recharge it.
Okay.
Because you don't want to get down to that 10% and then go, oh, okay, I need to go change that. And then all of a sudden, something comes up and you run out of power, and it's the one time you needed it to be tracking.
Right.
I don't know how many calls I got from that, where it's like, it ran out of power. Is there any way we can get an update? I'm sorry. I mean, it's like a cell phone. If it runs out of power, it's dead.
Right.
And that was the one time they needed it. So we always then recommend, hey, go create that alert. Set it up for 50%, or, you know.
Yeah, give yourself a good
Yes,
buffer.
yes.
Okay.
30% because, again, you know, our lives are busy.
So we'd recommend stay away from the 5, the 10s, that kind of stuff.
So once you have this set, just hit save. Now, the other one we have is radius. Really good, because if you want to make sure that vehicles aren't coming together, you know, let's go create a radius around, you know, Hooters or a bar or some sort. And all of a sudden we know when 2 of our vehicles are coming together, I want an alert to know that, you know, some of my guys aren't meeting up at 3 o'clock. 5 o'clock, you know, really don't mind. It's off the, you know, off the hours. But 3 o'clock, they're meeting up and they shouldn't be. So that's one way you can get notified there.
We've had a question come in, and it has to do with setting the end time on it. And what they're trying to do is set the end time for what seems to be 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And it's pushing it down to maybe 1 o'clock. Can you show me how to make sure that's set there? And I think the person that's asking the question has figured a way around that by setting it for 9:59, but they really want it at 10 o'clock. So
Gotcha.
can you show me how to do that?
So what you'd come is, so I use my keyboard is what I'm doing here. Instead of constantly using my mouse and clicking and trying, I just click in a location, come over here, and then you should be able to go 10:00 p.m. and then tab over, and then that should do it. Now, the way you've done it at 9:59, I would highly recommend stay with that, because whenever you put 59, it actually goes 9:59:59. That's why you also see 11:59 when we put it there. Instead of just putting 10, it's the exact same thing by a millisecond. So 9:59 would probably be a little bit easier, but as you saw, you can definitely put 10 p.m. if you like.
Okay, great. So if the person who has asked the question, if for some reason you're continuing to have some issues, please give us a shout at to our tech support, 405-726-9900. We'll gladly walk you through how to do that. So, and again, that's Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and on Saturdays from 9 to 4 Central Time. But we want to make sure you can get your alerts set up to the exact time that you want them set up. So contact us if you can. Hopefully what we just walked through will help you. Okay, so let's get back to it.
So back to it. Sorry. We come over here. So we add radius. Now our next one is routes. Really nice. We use this all the time for the Super Bowl. I've been at the Super Bowl for 10 years now, and this is their bread and butter, because it's really important if you want to make sure that vehicles are staying on route, that they don't deviate from that route. So you just come here, you go to route, and this is where your times, what route it is. So if we go to that New York one, the deviation, I want to know every 500 feet, and then on enter, on exit is what we'd go right there, and then hit save.
Yeah, and again, this satellite drift plays into that. So give yourself a decent buffer if it's going to be critical, which we one of those Super Bowls, it's very critical, the Super Bowl, but the deviation wasn't set far enough in advance, and they had a bus driver pull over to get gas, and a lot of people responded to that bus getting gas. So make sure there's enough deviation in there so that you don't get erroneous alerts.
So the next one, and another one of the most popular ones, is going to be the speed alert. Now this one's really nice because you can set, again, state of Oklahoma shouldn't go over 75, so we're going to put 75 here. If a vehicle ever goes above that speed limit, now it notifies them. Something I personally recommend, put the recipient, put the driver there. Let it notify them as well, because they might be driving, all of a sudden they're like, oh no, I'm speeding. And now it helps solves it, so you're not having to constantly pull in employees and go, hey, why were you speeding, and so forth.
Yeah.
It
or I
fixes
was
the issue.
speeding in this case, and I needed to get around a car, so I needed to speed up a little bit more than our 75.
And that's why I'd recommend those reports. So you can go in there and you can look. They were only speeding like 3 times, and they dropped back down, probably went around it. So, and then the final alert, the timeout. Timeout's really important, and it's good because if a vehicle has been in a zone for a specific time, maybe they're only supposed to be in there for 20 minutes, you can set it here that if they're in there longer than that amount of time, it notifies you, is what that's for.
So explain to me the terminology timeout then.
So timeout just means that why they use that, I don't quite know. But
so if we had it, set it this way. So if we had a delivery and they're supposed to be in there in a certain amount of time, and they're supposed to be out of that geofence in a certain amount of time, like within 5 minutes, they should be out of there. But
Correct.
if they're not, the timeout alert will set that for
Correct.
us, and we can watch then.
That's
Okay,
right.
Gotcha.
Yep. I was going to say, I don't know why they named it timeout.
So
I think just
it might be if for some reason they're supposed to be making deliveries and they've got a 20-minute window to make that delivery, and they're there for 50 minutes. Well, did they speak with the customer? What was going on at that point? And, usually it's phone call to the driver and find out what happened. So.
Now, right here is where you're going to be able to see the list of your alerts. Is where they would pop up right here, however many you have. Or again, go back to that map control, and you can see where they are on the map. So the next function is going to be dispatch and routing. So dispatch and routing is going to be where if you want to create those routes for that alert, just like we saw the one across the United States. Also, this is also that the dispatching, we do integrate with a lot of systems. eAutomate is one. So if you ever wonder if we integrate with maybe a specific product or software that you have, give us a call and we can answer those questions and see if we can integrate with it.
Yeah, and in most cases we can integrate with software you've already currently are using and pull in those service calls directly into this as well.
That's right. So right below dispatch and routing, we have addresses. So now this is where you can either do a search on the map on a quick route. So instead of having to go to Google or another search function and then go back to our system and go back and forth, it's all in one. Now you can also come here and go to addresses and go to create. And this is where you can create or put addresses maybe for all your customers or businesses, offices. Come here and go office 1.
It's a very nice office, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. So now the little tricky thing here is, so you can move your flag and see how it changes that latitude longitude up here. Once you get the location, hit find address, and then hit find coordinates, and it finds it right here. Or if you type in the address here, then you hit find address and it gives you a latitude longitude is what that comes into play. Come here and you can change the icon to what you want. And then once you have it, you then can hit save or temporary marker. Really also good for creating alerts because you can find the address with that and then go create the alert around it. If you maybe on your reports a specific address looks a little weird, now you can just type in that address there, find it, create an alert there so if they ever go back to it and helps you out there.
Okay.
Address groups, just like vehicle groups, we can create specific groups. Again, I was using an example of north, east, south, west. Now, historical playback. Very similar to any type of VCR, DVR recorder, YouTube, I always say. But this is where you can watch historical playback of where a vehicle was. Again, you don't have time to be able to sit in front of your vehicle every day. So, you have the system run and do its thing. And then at the end of the day, you come back in and you want to look at a specific vehicle and everywhere it drove for that vehicle or drove for that day, we come here, select the vehicle that you want, the date and time frame, and then just hit play. Now you have to hit play to get it started. And now, as you can see, at 12:46 a.m., we can now watch everywhere that vehicle went. Now you can fast forward, or you know what, if you just want to see everywhere that vehicle went for that day and you really don't want to spend too much time, just hit the very far right button, which skips to end. And now we can see the pink trail of everywhere that vehicle went.
All right.
Now it's really nice because if we ever see it like, okay, that's the correct route, but if you ever see one deviate or just jump around, now we know we need to look a little deeper into this vehicle or on history and find out where it's went. And then just like a DVR player, you can hit rewind, pause, play, and so forth. And then when you're done,
line and scrub the video if you need to find a specific time frame.
Exactly.
Okay.
You come here and hit like right there. And then when you're done, just hit the done button. It takes you back to all your vehicles.
Well, great.
And then the final thing that we have, if you go down here to hit search for anything, this is really good because let's see, Indium 12. He has a flat. Oh no, we need to find a tire shop near him. So we can come down here, we can just go tire shop, hit enter, and now it finds the closest shops near him.
Great.
Now the green means that they're open. On the network that we use to be able to pull this data, as long as it shows their hours that they've registered, that is where it tells you the color here. So green means that they're open. Gray means that they didn't put their specific hours of operation. Red would mean that they're closed.
Gotcha.
So if you're looking at late at night, maybe it's 10 p.m., we want to know who's open.
Sure.
If you click on it, it's going to bring up the information. So for example, if we click on this one, it will even give you the address that you can pull up website. So if you want to go to their website, it gives you a good phone number and rating of how good they are. Or you can also look over here, and it gives you a good list of them.
And that's going to be listed based on, is that alphabetically listed or is that based on the address that's closest to me?
It's going to be on the closest address to you.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you can come down here and go pizza. I mean, you can do anything. And it goes by the search of where your zoom level is at.
Okay.
So if you're zoomed in really close and you do the search, it's not going to pull them up.
Right, you may not see them.
Exactly. So you want to zoom out to the appropriate level and then do it. So as you can see, it only went this far because that's where my zoom level was.
Okay.
So come here and then just type in like pizza. Pulls them all up.
Lots of pizza shops in Houston.
Yep. As you can tell, lunch is about here. Starting to get a little hungry. So.
Exactly. Well, we want to thank you all for joining us. That brings us to the end of our training session. But we want to invite you back for our 1 p.m. Central training session we have. It's a drill down session, so we focus on one feature. That feature happens to be, we call it getting started. What we mean by that is, it sounds a little odd since we just went through basics, but what we mean is you've just received the box from us that has your tracker in it. We want to walk you from that point all the way to tracking. So come back in about an hour and we will walk you through that. It's the same place. You can actually leave this web page open if you'd like to. In March, if you'd like to sign up for our next one in 2 weeks, on March 18th, we'll be having a basics training again, which is just what we've gone through just now, as well as the setup alert notifications. So if you want to go deeper into setting up those alert notifications, we'll walk you through that process. You can sign up right now by clicking the link that's below the video. It'll open up a new window for you, and you can register for that at this time. Don't forget about our Twitter and Facebook. You can always ask us questions there, or comment on anything you'd like to. Bring stuff in to have a conversation. Feel free to do whatever you need to, and we'll respond to you there. You can also contact our tech support at 405-726-9900. That's Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. Our guys and gals are always there to help you out, so feel free to give us a shout. They know the system inside and out. Don't forget about our YouTube page, which is where this video will live as well. And once it gets all done, that'll be at youtube.com/US Fleet Tracking. The last thing I'd like to say is thank you so much for being our customer. It is because of you that we have a great company. So thank you very much, and we will see you in about an hour.